Hello, my name is Jessica Gwerder, and I am with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I am a district conservationist out of the Minden Field Office, and I've been asked today to discuss NRCS's programs and financial assistance as it relates to floodplain protection and water quality. So what does NRCS do? We are not a regulatory agency. Our producers come and work with us on a voluntary basis to look for financial or technical assistance. We will then come and inventory and evaluate resource concerns or resource problems on their farm or ranch. We provide alternatives and develop a conservation plan with their goals in mind. NRCS receives funding for its programs through the Farm Bill, which occurs every 4 years. We are currently operating under the 2018 Farm Bill. The Farm Bill supports conservation programs that ensure cost-effective financial assistance for improved soil health, water and air quality, and other natural resource benefits. It encourages entry into farming through increased access to land and capital for beginning, veteran, and underrepresented farmers. We primarily work with owners and operators of farms and ranches. However, we also work with our local soil and water conservation districts, other federal agencies such as BLM and Forest Service, as we can do projects with permittees on public lands, and state and local agencies, to include the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Universities and research organizations and conservation organizations have also been frequent partners. Our most popular financial assistance program is the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or EQIP. It provides financial assistance to eligible land users to install conservation practices on their farms and ranches. We tend to work with the individual landowner or operator. However, we can do cooperative contracts between 2 or more participants to solve problems that cross property boundaries. Something that's new with the Farm Bill is NRCS can financially assist with projects with water management entities. Some of NRCS's typical conservation practices to address water quality include off-site stock water, riparian or exclusionary fencing, prescribed grazing, grade stabilization, and stream bank stabilization. Source water protection is a new funding source that I wanted to bring to your attention. The 2018 Farm Bill included specific provisions to protect sources of drinking water. Agricultural practices that contribute to the protection of source water will be highlighted and tracked across the nation. States will work with partners at a more localized level to engage with stakeholders and implement practices that support the source water mission. One item to note is that this effort addresses not only water quality, but water quantity as well. At a national level, NRCS works in collaboration with multiple agencies to include the EPA Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water. At the local level, NRCS is working with the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, specifically the Water Quality Planning Bureau and the Safe Drinking Water Bureau, and Source Water Protection Task Force, among other partners. This funding is currently designated to 4 watersheds in Douglas County, Nevada. Right now, these are the only watersheds delineated in the state. This may change in the future. The 4 watersheds were designated in cooperation with the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection based on the Community Wellhead Protection Plan for public water systems in Douglas County. This plan is a description of source water protection goals, the delineation of wellhead protection areas, which you see yellow and orange on the map, identification of potential threats to source water, an action plan for implementation, and a public education plan for community members. The Carson River Watershed Adaptive Stewardship Plan was also referenced for source water protection. The 6 agricultural water quality concerns on the left were highlighted in this plan. The table on the right shows how these agricultural activities can cause water quality concerns. An example includes nutrients or pesticides that can run off into surface water or may leach into groundwater, causing human health problems from contaminated wells. The agricultural water quality concerns from the previous slide marry well with NRCS's priority conservation practices that were selected for source water protection funding. These practices were determined to be the most effective in addressing water quality and quantity. Those 9 priority practices can receive increased payment rates up to 90% of practice costs. To clarify, NRCS pays on a flat rate per unit basis. For example, X amount of dollars per linear foot of fence. NRCS normally pays 50 to 75% of the actual cost. This higher payment rate is an incentive to adopt or install conservation practices to improve water quality and quantity. The higher payment rates are only applicable within the selected watersheds. NRCS Nevada has dedicated 10% of fiscal year 2021 EQIP funds to source water protection. What that means is any eligible applicant is still entering into an EQIP contract. They just receive special funding through source water protection. This funding is currently available and will be around for the rest of the 2018 Farm Bill. We are looking for interested parties and partners to participate. Another funding source coming to our area is the National Water Quality Initiative. Under this initiative, NRCS will provide financial and technical assistance to implement conservation systems to improve water quality coming off agricultural fields. The NWQI proposed for our area is in the planning phase. The planning phase allows for watersheds to be included and prepare for implementation. The watersheds on the right should look familiar as they are the same ones that were delineated for source water protection. NWQI allocations will be based on the funding need documented in the implementation plan. This would still be an EQIP contract, but unlike source water protection, this program does not offer higher incentive payment rates. Once we know NWQI funding becomes available, our office plans to conduct outreach to inform the public. Now I'm going to switch gears and talk about NRCS's Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, or ACEP. There are 2 types of conservation easement options: the Agricultural Lands Easement, ALE, or Wetlands Reserve Easement, WRE. Our office has worked on both of these types of easements. We have successfully protected ranches ranging from 500 to 4,000 acres. These working ranches provide wildlife habitat for species like sage-grouse. NRCS provides financial assistance to eligible partners for purchasing agricultural lands easements that protect the agricultural use and conservation values of eligible land. In the case of working farms, the program helps farmers and ranchers keep their land in agriculture. Land protected by ALEs provide additional public benefits, including environmental quality, historic preservation, wildlife habitat, and protection of open space. Under the ALEs, NRCS may contribute up to 50% of the fair market value based on an appraisal. At NRCS, we place special emphasis on certain grasslands. Those properties that are identified by NRCS and the eligible entity as grasslands of special environmental significance for ACEP ALE provide wildlife habitat for a selected species. In our area, this specifically applies to properties that fall within sage-grouse habitat. These easements protect grasslands and shrublands under threat of conversion to cropping, urban development, and other non-grazing uses. Where NRCS determines that grasslands of special significance applies, NRCS may contribute up to 75% of the fair market value based on an appraisal. Agricultural land easements are intended to protect working farms and ranches, so multiple land types can be enrolled. The key is the landowner must work with an eligible entity to apply for and hold the easement. The landowner still owns their property while maintaining the conservation easement values. The other conservation easement option NRCS offers is the Wetlands Reserve Easement. These easements restore, protect, and enhance wetlands and associated wildlife habitat. There are 3 enrollment options: permanent easements, 30-year easements, or 30-year contracts. The permanent easement option is held in perpetuity. Under this option, NRCS pays 100% of the easement value as well as 100% of any restoration costs. The 30-year easement option is a conservation easement that expires after 30 years. In this case, NRCS pays 75% of the easement value as well as 75% of any restoration costs. The 30-year contract option is only available to enrolled acreage owned by Indian tribes. Like the 30-year easements, we pay 75% of the easement value, as well as 75% of any restoration cost. The wetlands reserve easements are targeted for farmed or converted wetland that can be successfully and cost-effectively restored. We prioritize applications based on the easement's potential for protecting or enhancing habitat for migratory birds and other wildlife. Unlike the Agricultural Lands Easement Program, an eligible entity is not required. If you're interested in any of the programs or opportunities we have talked about today, please give the Minden Field Office a call at 775-782-3661 to make an appointment. Due to COVID-19, our office is currently closed to the public, but we are able to meet with you on site. Thank you for your time.